So before we get into it, I think this lesson is more about an introspective look, a look inside of you as a person, a look inside of your thoughts, your feelings, the people that you hang out with, your community, your inner circle, how you feel about things, and what is this thing we call groupthink? And, can groupthink be good or bad or somewhere in the middle? But that's in regards to what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully, after the end of this lesson, we can look inside of ourselves and start to think more about our opinions and how we think as groups. And we're at the point where we're going through the trials of Jesus. We're not yet at the crucifixion, but the material is really about the trials and how they took Jesus from one end to the other end. And they were trying to get a consensus of, what they wanted to do with this person, this quote unquote false prophet, this blasphemer, this person who blasphemes and say that he is, the King of Kings, who says he is the Son of God that walks among the earth. So let's listen to this dialogue. And I want to draw parallels into how the people judge Jesus and how we are judges of others and we are judged ourselves. And hopefully we can come away with a little something that can kind of help us think about what we are and how we are as people. And interesting enough, the people have already came to a conclusion of what they want to do with Jesus based upon his arrest and their visions of the type of person that he is. Now, that's not even to say that they weren't aware of the miracles and the things that he's done and the healing. But for some reason at this point, he is on trial for blasphemy. He is on trial for saying these things which are against the law. So think about this point right here. The people wanted Jesus to defend himself. But if you think about it like this, we talk about a standard trial, the prosecution never asks the defendants to defend themselves. You get a right to defend yourself, but it seems as if this was really one-sided, or if it was kind of already set in motion what they really wanted to do. With all those things being said, he even said, if I tell you, you will not believe me. So why even ask? You've seen what you've seen, and it already seems like you've drawn your own conclusions. So what input do you want from me? The people had already judged Jesus, and Jesus felt that already. So why choose to fight? Why further, quote unquote, incriminate myself when you already know what you want to do with me? And that's shown in 71 when they said, why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips. The words that he said came out of his mouth, but he wasn't meaning it in the form of an admission or in the form of confirmation of what they were trying him at. He was merely saying, if this is what you believe, this is what you say I am, this is what you're charging me with, it is what it is. We think about times in life where we get judged for things that we didn't even know that they were wrong. And sometimes people want to label you, or people want to put you in a box, or people want to pretty much get justice. And for some of us, that draws the defensive nature in us to bang back and to fight for ourselves. Jesus didn't feel the need to fight because he's already fought, and of course we know this is all part of the prophecy, and he's living and carrying out all the things that he needed to do. But he never had an attitude about it. He merely just agreed, or he merely just let the proceedings go as they may, and I think we got to think about that when we judge others, or we put them on trial, or we put them on the spot for things. Is that how are we making them feel? Are we really giving people an honest second chance, or a chance to communicate, or are we just talking at? So what we have here is an angry mob mentality. We've got the pitchforks, we have the torches. The people want what they want, and they will not be satisfied by anything less. And what's scary about this is that they rather a true criminal be released in exchange for a man who's done nothing wrong. That's scary because we see things like this in real life, in politics, and in the real world. People will turn a blind eye to something that is obviously wrong in pursuit of criminalizing something that has nothing to do with anything, or to even say that right, falsely accusing people of a crime but then exchange would rather swap one for one over a person that was proven through the same means. And it just goes to show you that right now at this point, Pilate is at an impasse and he has to make a decision. You know, he asked 3 times, but it's funny because it's like sometimes the people in charge don't want to make the right decision. And that we'll talk about that in a second, but it's funny how it's like a majority can intimidate the minority in any way, shape, or form. And that's a powerful tool. So we also have to make sure in our real lives when it comes to education and things that are right and wrong, we cannot continue to back things blindly. We cannot continue to cut off our noses to spite our faces. We want something, but we want it so bad that we're going to ignore everything around us blindly. That is dangerous. That is dangerous to the whole populace, not just the people that you're trying to convict or to put into place. You are hurting everyone because you're warping the mental stability of the herd.